Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Go ahead.
Here.
I'm here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Can you guys hear her? No, you can. I can hardly hear
What if you put the phone up to a?
It's muted right now. There you go. See, the volume is on. There you go. There you go.
Kim, say something again.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. A little bit better.
Can you hear me?
It's getting better.
Getting better?
I'm turning the volume up. Just say something.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Can you hear me now?
Is it better?
Yes,
I
that's
can hear
fine.
you
That's fine.
really well, Rita.
On the soundboard? Where's the soundboard? No, I don't. Here, I'll let you in. Here. Do you need me to move?
I'll be here.
We'll get this going, guys. Let me, no, I can't. Kim, keep talking.
Okay. You really want to hear me talk? What would you like to hear about? About the correcting the weather in here in Michigan today?
Oh, is it?
I don't know, 45 degrees.
Oh, God. 45 degrees. Okay.
I don't know, when I'm coming out of Florida, I'll be there right after Thanksgiving.
That's good to know. I got it on full blast.
Get her on the phone and put the phone up to the.
Get her on the phone? Yeah. Do you want to be on the phone instead of Zoom? Well, hey, it's a little bit. Yeah, she can do both. Hey, call in. Call me. She's in. Just call me. So the only cell phone? No, I'll keep you on Zoom and we could do the phone. Does that mean then I have to mute this? I don't know. Okay.
Or computer audio, and then I'll just see what's going on in that whatever here. And then you can turn me around.
Audio. For today's meeting, we're going to follow the agenda. And the next up was the approval of the board minute meetings from August 13th and October 22nd. Can I have a motion, please? Switch to phone, that one.
I make a motion to accept the board meeting minutes from August 13th and October 22nd.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Treasurer's report, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Can we have a vote? Is there any comments on the meeting minutes? If there's no discussion, then we will have a vote. Kim, if you'll call the vote, please, for the approval of the board meeting minutes. That would be. Wait. Okay, say something. Say what you were going to say.
Are we approving the August 22nd ones or the August 19th ones or the October 27th ones?
The motion is to approve the August 13th and the October 22nd meeting minutes.
Okay.
Approve.
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
I approve. Sabrina,
Yes.
Kim, I made the motion and Dick seconded it. So you have that information, okay?
yes, thank you, I have that.
And it's been approved, 7-0.
Yeah.
7-0. Okay, treasurer's report, please.
Okay, the treasurer's report covers through October 31st of this year. In October, we had operating income of $340,824. We had expenses of $295,172. Our current operating cash available minus the $150,000 operating objective is $235,243. Current balance in our escrow account is $223,612. Our income for the year in operating is $3,451,620. It's about $31,700 more than anticipated. Part of that was the $12,000 that we received from the COVID relief funds that Chris had applied for, and then we collected a significant amount of money on the foreclosure of Building 46G. Our land lease income and reserve income is $337, and that's right on budget. Our operating expenses on admin were under budget by $21,481. Building maintenance is over by $123,289. That's a result of the work done on building 39 and 40. The golf course is currently under budget by about $44,280. And landscape is under budget by $7,538. We currently have an operating balance of the budget of $225,713. Of that, $102,850 is money that had been kept in operating from the insurance savings. We kept $51,450 back in August and October, pending the bills from 39 and 40. Now that a majority of those have been done, that money is not necessary for cash flow, so it will be placed in the escrow account. The operating reserve, we have $602,921 in cash, and we have $225,000 in CDs, or actually they're in annuities. So our total reserve is $827,921.
Thank you.
I guess one more thing, of the remaining money that shows as a balance, we will be at the end of the year. We've got 2 more months of expenses, and we will be looking at if there's any cash surplus in the operating budget of potentially moving that into the reserves for building expenses due to the construction costs or maintenance costs for the catwalks and the stairwells that we just received our engineer report on.
Thank you, Keith. Is there any comment, questions? Thank you. Okay, now we would go to our manager's report.
Good morning, everyone. This is a brief overview. I spoke about these items yesterday at the managers meeting, so I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. An update on our projects. Pond 3, we met with Sunshine Land, and they're to provide an estimate for the seawall sometime this week. Pond 25, all the electrical work has been completed for the fountain. We're on the list with Solitude to install the pump. The fountain, I've been working with them, trying to find out where we are on the list. They said we're moving up closer, but no ETA as of yet. The well at Building 38 has been completed. The deep well project, we did receive a plan from the engineer, and it was sent to FPNL, so I'm in the works of setting up a meeting with FPNL to further discuss the electricity getting over here for that well and pump. The plaza wall, the wall will be painted in the first part of 2025. The board is currently looking at using volunteers for this project, which would be headed up by David Brown when he returns after the holidays. Wells were reviewed last week. They found two wells that were bad and one that was salvageable. I'm still waiting on their written report. CSM engineering report was received and the board is reviewing the report. It will be posted on Vanica this week. Termites have been an issue. We continue to get work orders. So please, if you have an issue, come to the office, fill out a work order. Currently, all the issues are being spot treated for the buildings. Building 39 and 40 are finally complete with the exception of the landscaping around the building 39. Some housekeeping rules, parking permits. Please make sure you have a permit on your car. If you have a guest spending the night or a few days, please have them come to the office or you come to the office and get them a guest permit. If your guest has a truck, it must be parked in the clubhouse parking lot with the guest pass in the window for no more than 14 days. Laundry rooms. Everyone is responsible to keep those laundry rooms clean. You all share them. Courtesy, respect your neighbors. Please be courteous, empty the lint filters and make sure it's clean when you leave. The big issue lately has been trash. I want to remind everyone bulk trash day is the third Thursday of every month. Trash that you put in those bins outside of your units must be in 13-gallon kitchen bags. Please don't weight them down so they split open when they're unloading them onto the cart to get them over to the dumpster. We've had too many issues where there's loose items, bulk items in the trash bins. That is not acceptable. We're getting complaints of maggots and rodents and all these things. If people aren't doing the trash correctly, it causes these issues. So I ask for your help in this, please. Please remember planning on the common area. Before you do so, you need to get permission from the landscape committee. Before doing so, you can fill out a work order with your request. And remember, once you plan something onto the common area, it becomes the association's property. We're currently also getting bids. We've got a few bids to redo the carpet here in the clubhouse. We are also getting bids right now to clean the carpet here as well as in the yacht club. That's all I got. Thank you all.
Thank you, Holly. Are there any questions for Holly?
When is the carpet plan being done?
I'm sorry.
When is the carpet plan on being done?
There's no.
Can please, I'm going to ask people again to please, if you have questions or comments, you need to come to the microphone, mainly because of the YouTube presentation. Thank you.
Kenny Parker, 1B. Just wanted to know when if there's a planned target date to replace the carpet, since you're talking about cleaning it and possibly replacing it.
Not as yet. We don't have a planned date for the replacement. We would like to get it cleaned, though, as we wrap into season. So at least that's done heading into.
More than likely next year.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, next year for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Please state your name and your building.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Mahoney. I'm in 49F. I'm just wondering if there's another option for garbage that we could explore. We have rats that are like 5 inches in our garbage. And I have to kick the garbage, and they're in bags. But I have to kick the garbage bin before I open it because I'm afraid. I found one this big the other day.
Have you turned in a work order? Because
I did.
Rat
I
stations.
did.
And there rats.
And one day I went in there and there was a rat that was this big in a trap. But that's not going to solve the issue. They're going to keep coming. So is there something, another option we can explore for garbage?
At the moment, the other option would be a dumpster. So that would require other people having to travel to put their trash away. It's something that the board is going to have to be looking into. And if that, I thank you for your report. We're going to go to committee reports. Is there any committee that has a report? at the moment. Peggy? I'll start at that end.
Okay, I have a couple things. First of all, the annual owners meeting. The board's not going to meet in December, we don't. So before we reconvene in January, you're going to get your first notice of the annual owners meeting, which is Saturday, March 1st. That notice will go out at the end of December, so we meet our 60-day requirement. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that. And in that, if anybody is interested in running for the board this year, there's 4 positions. So if you are interested and to put your intent in to run for the board, the date for that will be January 20th, on Monday, January 20th. So just a heads up, the annual meeting is coming. You'll get your notice, your first notice before the board reconvenes in January. So just wanted to bring that forward. And one other thing on that we had in the discussion in our last meeting was the owner who can sign the envelope, the certificate for it. We've asked everybody to check with the office to see who in your unit can sign as the voter for your unit. If it's going to change, fill out a new form. Holly has those forms there, just to make sure that we have it. Because what we've had in the past, like last year, when you get your envelope with your voting packet, the owner has to sign this corner up here. If it doesn't match what we have on record, we can't even use your packet. And that affects vote count for who your new board members are, and it affects any of the other things that go out for you to vote on. So we want to make sure that we can reduce the number of those that we can't use. We want to be able to use everybody. So that's the other piece of it, to make sure we have that on file. Does anybody have any questions on how that works, or any of that? Any board members?
I have a suggestion. For anybody who's contemplating getting on the board, I would suggest that the board make sure that potential candidate get a copy of the job description. I can tell you, if I had gotten that, please, I mean, it's really important. People need to know what that job description is, because I was totally naive.
That's a very good point, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Being a director, and these laws changed effective July 1st on what is required of directors now. One thing is you have to attend and get certification. And it used to be that you could just go to a class, or you could sign a document that said, I've read all the documents. And our documents are 3 things: the declaration, the articles, and the bylaws. That you've read them and you understand them. Now, effective July 1st, you also have to sign a letter that you have done that, and you have to take a 4-hour course. And that's a long time, and it covers a lot of information. And also, you have to register with the federal government under the Corporate Transparency Act. So there's some new changes for directors going forward, and then every year after that, you have to do continuing education classes. So if anybody is, really interested in, any of the board members would be happy to sit and visit with and give you some background. Some changes did occur this year. We transitioned from self-management to a management company. More responsibilities now belong with the board, not the management company. So there are some different things. There's a lot of roles and a lot of responsibilities with it, but we're more than happy to talk to anybody that's interested in getting on the board. Like I said, there's 4 positions open. I have no idea who's running. We can't speak to that. There may be directors in those positions now that are going to be run. I don't know that. We just state that we stagger those terms. Last year there were 3, this year there's 4. That's how that works. And we're more than happy to talk to people on the roles and responsibilities and what it takes to be a director, and the different positions, to be an officer, the president, the treasurer, the vice president, the secretary. Secretary has a lot of responsibilities also. So, as Dick said, there's there's a lot involved in it, but we're more than willing to sit and visit with anybody on it, so.
One other thing I would like to comment is that if there are 4 openings, we will have to have 5 to have an election. Otherwise, 4 people, if 4 people run, there's no election. It's an automatic in.
They're automatically seated.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, if we don't have 4 people running, we go into a receivership by the state. Is that correct, Holly?
If you have 3 people come forward and you're missing 1 or 2, you could just.
You can still
sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Right.
The board could appoint at the next meeting. It's if you have no one at that point, you can appoint to the board, then you're gonna go into receivership if you don't have a full board. And you do not wanna do that. I managed a property that was in receivership. It was a condominium. I'd say similar to you, but not this nice. But it was very, very expensive. They paid a huge amount to the receivers, which happened to be an attorney and a real estate agent. That's who the state appointed, and they were paying astronomical amounts for their service. So you don't want that to happen.
We've never had it. Most of the time, there's plenty of candidates that step forward, and we get the number we need to go out. But she makes a very good point. With the 4 open positions, and if we only get 4 people to step forward, they're automatically seated. It doesn't go out to the community to vote on who gets those positions. So we have to have 5 names in. So that's how that works.
Thank you. Any questions? If not,
Okay, that was that one. I wanted to also talk a little bit about my other committee that I'm on, and that's the Communication Committee. In our last meeting, we brought up the surveillance cameras. And that's what they are, surveillance cameras and not security cameras. And the Communication Committee is in the process of developing a policy to cover surveillance cameras, where they're located, who has access to them, how they're accessed through our internet stuff here in the office, and all of that. And in addition to that, we are also looking at another piece of that is recording our meetings. We record these meetings here for the benefit of the owners. We've been doing that since I think it was 2020 or 2021 when we developed this. And Chris Davis and I have been doing that for a long time, and we have a lot of meetings out there recorded for everybody. Now keeping them or deleting them or whatever, that has now changed also effective July 1st. So how it reads is if you record, and I'm talking board meetings, if you record a board meeting, once the board accepts the written meeting minutes, and that's specific, it says written meeting minutes, once the board accepts those, you now delete your recorded meeting, because now the board has accepted the written ones, and that's what the state statute asks for. So once you do that, then you can delete the recording. If you have any meeting minutes that were recorded prior to that, they now become records of the association, and they have to be kept for 7 years. So within our camera surveillance and all, we are developing a policy as to where we're going to store all of these recordings, how owners, because owners, they're records of the association and you're entitled to them. Any owner, you can request records, and that is a record. And how you will get access to them, the security around them, that's all being worked on also. So right after Thanksgiving, Chris Davis and I and Kim will be here, and other board members. We're going to look at that whole thing. We've already started the development of the policy for all of that because there's a lot of legal around it also. So I just want to let everybody know that that piece is being worked on also. Does anybody have any questions on it? And I just want to say the recording of the meetings, because this has been brought up too, is for seasonal people that aren't here. Well, why didn't I get to see that recording? Where is it? When Chris is here on site, we work that out on how we do that. When he's not here during the summer months when we're recording meetings, our equipment doesn't always work. So we make an attempt to record meetings. It doesn't always work. So, and we are not required to have to do this. We do it as a service to the owners. We are required to have a meeting in this room for owners to come to. But during COVID, we developed this to have that availability for you, as Zoom meetings are now the popular way of doing things. So I just wanted to let people know that we try to get that to you. Sometimes the equipment doesn't work. And so those meetings don't get recorded for you to watch. They are recorded and there are meeting minutes for them. That piece is being done, and that stuff is always posted on the website. We have our website, and there are state statutes that require us to put that stuff there. So it's on our website, and it's also on the Vanica website, meeting minutes. So there was that piece of it. Ooh, careful. I did. It's recorded, Paul.
Deborah South, One Eye. I'm just wondering about the recordings, as I am a seasonal person. Is there any way that you could Zoom? Or, I know it's not.
That's a piece. Yeah. Okay, so communication covers many things. How we communicate in all our platforms and everything, through our emails that go out, our Chip Shots newsletter, our Zoom meetings, our recordings and everything. So right now, we have Zoom meetings for board members only, not for the general members, because we don't are able to control all the people that would call in, versus having it here where we can set the standards for you to come up here. So that's why we don't do it. So we budgeted for having the Zoom meeting for board members and for those.
Just because we miss you guys when we're there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I bought the Zoom that was, or the board bought the Zoom that was one step above the free Zoom. Because the Zoom for everybody's pretty expensive too. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of pushback when we were talking about buying the Zoom for just 10 people or less, 9 people, so.
Paula DeBella, 25G. I just watched my granddaughter karate Zoom award ceremony, and they were able to mute everybody except the participants. So I would like to be able to attend those Zoom meetings, and you can just mute me. I'm happy with that.
We don't have that kind of Zoom. We just have the Zoom that was for.
Well, can we upgrade? I mean,
it's expensive to upgrade.
Like how much? Yeah.
I don't know offhand, but I'd have.
I mean, because a lot of us would be willing to. I would contribute so I could watch.
Well, there's another piece to that also, in that we are required by state statute now to allow all owners to speak on anything on the agenda or anything that goes on. So to be able to have somebody that could monitor everybody who raised their hand and wanted to speak for 3 minutes on the Zoom meeting, because we couldn't say you can't, we put you on mute. You know what I mean? Why we wouldn't do it. Because everybody that was on that Zoom meeting could speak.
I just stay here until I get.
Thank you, Paula. That was my communication committee. I'm also on landscape, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that, how our landscaping is going. And I think it was in Holly's meeting, I watched that, and an owner watched one of our trees over here off the number 4 T being cut down. She was wondering why and if we're going to replace it. That isn't the first time that we get these. When trees are cut down, are you going to replace them? The specific thing that's going on with our rubellinis, which we have many of them, or some people call them the pygmy palms. And we also have it with our queen palms. It's a disease. It's called gondoderma. And it gets into the root systems of these. Our queen palms, the whole tree has to come down. Our pygmy palms, and you'll see those, we can take just the one trunk that's affected. But once those go, we cannot plant back in that ground area because the disease is there. So we never replace it back in there. And we've had this question come up multiple times. Are you going to put the tree back? And we can't because the disease is in it. So I just wanted to kind of address one of those. And that's been going on for a while. And when I first took over landscaping, we were losing a lot of our pygmy palms. And we have a lot of very large ones in our landscaping out here. We were able to get a spray. Our golf course superintendent is licensed to do that, but he had to go down to Miami to get it. And we were able to use that and treat all of our pygmies and all of our queens, approximately 400 trees out here, of just that variety, to stop the loss of these. And it did work. So every year we do that treatment. And last year, instead of doing the spray, Carlos, our landscape, Carlos Garcia, he did it with a dry chemical. And we're noticing right now that the dry chemical didn't work as well as using the liquid. So, because we're starting to see losing those trunks of the pygmies and the queen palms. So right after the first of the year, it'll be addressed again and he'll be coming through and spraying those. So just so that's a piece of the vegetation management here, is trying to prevent the loss of these very valuable trees. So if you see us just taking one trunk down, that's why. And you'll see it in the pygmies. You'll see it's called frazzling. The fronds and stuff start to turn brown and dry. Those are the first signs that we're losing them. And it's not a very long time before we lose the whole trunk. So you'll see some out there, right out here, we've only got one trunk left on those beautiful pygmy palms. So that's just kind of a summary that was going on with the landscaping. Those were my committees. One other thing I wanted to address that was said in the meeting, the workshop meeting, it was brought up. I was it's been brought up at a prior board meeting. It was brought up again at the workshop meeting. It's kind of a robust discussion about what the board can do for the ponds and the bulkhead that's put around them. And that we can't, some people feel that we can't do it because you have to have the owners vote to do it. And we have a legal opinion that we have gotten from our attorney, and that's why we've always done the ponds that way. So I do have that here, and I just wanted for new owners that are here, people that weren't at that meeting or whatever, I just wanted to clarify again that from our attorney, in March 28th of 2019, we did receive a legal opinion for the installation of retaining walls. And our documents, the provision permits the association without a vote of the members to make alterations or improvements if the cost is $51,000 or less. On the other hand, if the cost exceeds $51,000, a majority of the total voting interest must approve the alteration. Some people feel that putting the bulkhead on the ponds is an alteration. Although the retention wall is an alteration that is in excess of $51,000, as well as the ground lease state that the association is responsible for maintaining the common elements. Florida arbitration and court decisions have held that this responsibility extends to repairs and replacements that result in a material alteration to the common elements. In other words, even if an alteration to the condo property normally requires membership approval, approval is not required when the alteration falls within the scope of the association's maintenance responsibility. So we have the authority and the approval to go ahead with the bulkhead. So it's been brought up at a couple meetings. I just want to read it again so everyone is aware, because we will be discussing, and I think Holly has brought it up in her meeting, that we are looking at another vendor to look at our Pond 3. We had said last year that we were going to pause anything on sending any assessment out for that pond until we looked at everything, looked at different vendors and stuff. So it's come forward again. People are questioning, can you really do that? So I just wanted to read this and bring it back out there, because at the last meeting, I felt like it got a little heated, and just so everyone knows. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No, but I do have a comment on it.
Okay,
Thanks for putting me the letter out to the board from the lawyer. I read it pretty closely, and to his opinion, a lot of it is opinion, and a lot of it doesn't even have to do with the bulkheads. It is about water flow and drainage. The buildings were not even mentioned in that the letter from the lawyer. They weren't even mentioned one time about it. It was about water flow and drainage is what it was mentioned in. So if that's a letter you sent out to the board from the attorney, show me where it says anything about the buildings. It doesn't. That's all I gotta say.
I have a comment. We have just spent almost $200,000 on building 39 and building 40. I cannot believe that we do not want to bulkhead Pond 3 on the building side to preserve the monies that have just been spent.
I have another comment on that I would like to say. As far as the building, the building engineer, not the pond engineer, was right up here at a meeting, and he sat there and said that those buildings are not affected by the pond. The buildings are too far away. And if you look back at that meeting, it was not televised, it wasn't on YouTube, it wasn't on anything, but you look back at the minutes says in it that the engineer actually stood up here and said that those buildings are not in any danger from the pond. And the minutes was passed by the board, and that's what it says in our minutes when it wasn't televised.
One of the things that he did comment also was that it was not an immediate need. That meant, to me, the urgency that we had experienced with 39 and 40.
Excuse me, that was not said in the meeting when the engineer was here. That was said to a private person talking to him. That was not said in the meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't record that meeting, but the board did sign the minutes where he did say what he said about the pond. We have those minutes signed by the board members.
I would like to speak back to what Chuck is talking about here. This opinion has nothing to do with the buildings. It's talking about the retention ponds. There's nothing in here. I wasn't talking about that.
No, it wasn't talked about.
Please. I'll read the letter.
No, well,
as the attorney
said,
it's my understanding that the retention pond in question is suffering from significant erosion and requires repairs to prevent further erosion and damage to the common elements. The retention pond is part of the overall drainage system in King Mountain and must be properly maintained to provide proper drainage in the community. That's all it's talking about. We're not talking about buildings here. We're talking about the ponds.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what the letter says. From the get-go, when we started to do these ponds in here, it was all about the buildings. It was all about everything. Every meeting we went to, it was about preserving the buildings. It was going to cause problems to the buildings. That's what we heard from day one when we started Pond 5. That's what the board told us, and that's what we believe. But this letter doesn't say anything about the buildings in it. That's what I'm saying.
But because we're not dealing with the buildings, we're only dealing with the ponds, as it states. The association formed a committee to examine the various methods of repairs and consulted with an engineer and licensed contractor regarding the appropriate repairs. The committee, the engineer, and contractor all recommended the retaining wall because it provides support for keeping the soil in place, helps to prevent flooding, reduces the maintenance associated with the retention pond, and has a greater longevity than the other repair methods. We're only talking about the ponds, not the buildings.
You're missing the point. When it's been brought to us from the very beginning, it was all about the buildings, worried about the buildings. That's why it was all brought to us to do, and that's why it all got done.
All right. Thank you for comments.
We've got a comment from the audience.
Frank Kreitzer, 19I. You would discuss some of the things I wanted to talk about.
Is it on?
Talking to the microphone.
You gotta talk right to it. Pick it up, Frank.
Upwards?
Should be up, yeah.
I think it's up.
Can you speak in?
It's on, isn't it?
Yeah, they're close to
You gotta
it.
get it.
Close to it.
You're not talking into it.
What I'm concerned about is that we're probably not addressing the real point here. And the real point is the rate of erosion, okay? In other words, how eminent is the threat, or whatever you want to call it, the risk of the ponds being altered in a serious manner. I've lived here for 12 years, okay? In the 12 years, I've gone by that pond several times a week, and to my knowledge, or to my sight, there has not been any significant amount of erosion that I could say, okay, the pond has moved 10 feet closer to the buildings, and therefore it's a threat to the buildings. So what I'm suggesting that is, in light of all the other expenses that we have right now, and they seem to be considerable, that if you're talking about something that might affect the ponds 10 or 15 years down the line, that it's not a good time to be talking about it. You're going to get a sizable amount of money when the land lease comes up. Might be a perfect time for the long-term planning committee to look at that, or at least have somebody come back and just tell me that they can tell me that that pond is eroding so many inches or feet or whatever it is per year. We had a rather impassioned speech at the last meeting, as you well know, about that, but no one offered any evidence as to how much the pond is actually receding. The pond has been there for 50 years, to the best of my knowledge. The building seemed to be intact until they dug a trench right next to it, 3 feet away, and then we had a problem. So all I'm suggesting is that maybe we put this thing, slow down a little bit, and take a second look before we go off into a very large expense. Thank you.
This pond issue, the retention wall, is being addressed by other outside concerns so that we have full knowledge and full understanding of what is going on. This is not something that's going to be decided in the next day or two.
Everyone seems to think that those ponds are not a problem. Not
Ron,
everybody.
please identify yourself.
Okay, I'm Ron Longo, 51J. Okay, everybody seems to think those ponds are not a problem. Listen to the contractors when they came in here. Okay, we had a problem over at Building 51 because of the culvert pipe that had holes in the culvert pipe, and we had to pump concrete underneath that building because of that. Okay, back behind Building 39 and 40, you'll see the land back there. It's like this. I've been coming down here since 1980. In 1980, that land was flat back there. So if you think the sand's not moving, think again. Okay. I mean, you don't have to do it right away. Do what you want to do. I mean, I don't care, but I'm going to tell you something. These contractors that have come in here said these ponds are causing an issue for the buildings. If you think they aren't, question for you, Keith. When they did Building 40, what did they put around the building? How deep did they go and what did they use?
They had to use helo piles down 77 feet to get to bedrock.
What's the reason to put that back there if the pond's not a problem? I'd just like to know that.
Well piping on when they dug.
Come on up.
Now, I'm not an expert on it.
I guess I'd like to make a point here. The point of this conversation was not to discuss the need for the ponds. It was to clarify the legal opinion. So before we get too far out of whack of the agenda, this was brought to the attention for clarification of the legal opinion, not necessarily moving forward with
Let's drop it for
now.
So since we started, we just mentioned the content. Is the Kenny Parker wouldn't be. My understanding was that part of the problem was when we put the piping in between the two buildings that actually went all the way out to the river, that they didn't do enough with what they call well piping, which was removing water before inserting that pipe. That's what caused our problem, if I'm understanding it right.
in my conversations with the engineer, he did not have a full history of how long the original pipe was leaking versus when the new pipe was put in. So sand could have been coming out for many, many years through the old pipe and may or may not have more effect than the installation. Let me finish, please. The old pipe may have caused more damage than the installation of the new pipe.
Okay, but they still didn't do enough well piping, which is removing the moisture. Typically, you'll see that when they build sidewalks along Monterey. You just have to look up well piping to see what it is.
That's fine.
We'll end it.
At this point, let's move on. Sabrina, was there a more committee report, please? Anything on more?
Other than they're going to a team concept, no.
Okay, thank you. Dick, is there anything on mixed golf? Dick Jamal?
What's that?
Anything on mixed golf?
I have nothing at this
Okay,
point.
thank you.
Is Bill here? No.
All right, thank you.
All I can say is that, they finished the golf shack, pretty much. There's a couple of minor things that have to be done down there, but it's essentially pretty much finished, I think.
Thank you. Is there any other committee reports that I missed? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to new business, please. I would like to address the adoption of the proposed 2025 budget.
I make a motion to adopt the 2025 proposed budget.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I will second that.
We need to have a discussion.
And now it's a discussion. Is there board discussion, please?
I'd like to make a comment that I think it should be tabled at this point, because I think there's issues that have really not been looked at or looked at thoroughly enough. I'm going to pass this off to Chuck because he has a very good understanding.
Yeah, let me make some comments about the board right now. We adopted this budget, but between when we adopted it and today, there's a big expense that's going to be hitting everybody in here. Everybody knows that we've had engineers in here, and they've been pounding and beating on all the buildings and everything. Well, we just got a price factor from the engineer report, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. It's going to be a lot of money. And I don't know how we're going to fit that into our new 25 budget. There's 50 buildings, there's 51 buildings that need to be addressed. And it goes from anywhere from $75,000 to $9,000 per building. So we're talking a lot of money here. And I don't know, it's got to be figured before we do the budget. We need to start doing these buildings. This came up in 21, where we had an engineer report, and they were supposed to start doing buildings back in 21, and they didn't do any of the buildings. So now we have 51 buildings that equals about $1.5 million worth of damage that we have had to do. I don't think it's going to cost us that much money because we're going to need to put it out to bid to 3 different companies. And this is the engineer report putting this in, but I don't think some of the engineer report has to be done the way they want it done. So we need to put it out to bid to see if we can save money. But you're talking about $1 million plus in the next, if we do 10 buildings a year, we're talking 5 years. We got to figure out how we're going to do this. Are we going to make a special assessment? Are we going to raise the maintenance back up? But this all needs to be discussed before we do this 25 budget approval. And that's my opinion on this. There's a lot of money. And I mean, I broke it down the first year. If we do 10 buildings, it's $430,000. Okay? That's an assessment of about $900 a person for that first 10 years. Every year is going down because we're doing the worst 10 first and going on down. It goes for $430 for the first 10 to $197 for the last 11. So the budget is going to be a lot less money on there. But I think this needs to be discussed. And what we're going to do in 25, I don't want to come here in May And if we get a big bill from the insurance company, we're gonna have to go back up on the maintenance and add this to the budget in May. I don't think that needs to be done. So, we put it up for discussion. I mean, that's what we're looking at, realistically.
I would like to address that a little bit, because when we developed the budget, we had excluded 4 things that the committee had looked at. One of those was the CMS report. One of them was Pod 5. The termite preventative action was the third one, and the fourth one was work on the greens. What we've heard over the years was that the community wanted to reduce the HOA fees, which was done by this particular budget, with the understanding that special projects like the CMS catwalk law would be dealt with through a special assessment. And so that's how the budget was developed. It was explained at the budget committee meetings. We knew at that time that these items were coming down the road, but would be dealt with by special assessment. If we do, a 5-year plan, there would be a certain amount of money each year for that. If we add those monies now into the budget, you're going to see a significant increase in your HOA fee. The budget was developed trying to kind of thread the needle of reducing monthly HOAs, keeping the insurance escrow in place so that we could reduce our finance charges for ongoing insurance, and to rely on special assessments for these larger non-reoccurring problems.
Kim has a comment. Uh-oh.
Just hang on. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. If we do a special assessment to fix these buildings, people don't have to pay the special assessment all at one time, right? They can, just like you would have done if we rolled it into the budget, they can pay a monthly fee, or they can pay it in monthly payments as opposed to paying it all at one time. Is that correct?
No.
That is not correct. Special assessments would need to be paid in full at the time that the board determines the due date.
But here's what I think happens is this, we just got this engineering report. We still have to go out and get bids. I think that the engineering report was way overstated, and that's what a lot of these buildings that are 3 stories and above are paying. I think that when we go out to bid, we're not hard up where we have to, I think we can find, there's a lot of contractors out there that are licensed for this thing. I think we can get it for a lot better prices. And then we can figure out, should we do the job all at once? Should we break it out over years? I mean, maybe it might be half what that bill is. We still don't know enough to go and just throw 1.5 million into the budget for this. So it's still in initial stages. We still got to get all our bids. Then we got to figure out how to proceed. And then initially, when you get one of these companies out to do the job, you don't pay all the money up front. You start off with a down payment, and then as things get done, then you pay. So it's not like right away as soon as, I mean, let's say we decided to do it all in one shot. You begin the job and then you end it, and maybe it takes them 2 years. So maybe in the first year, you're gonna owe maybe half of it, and then in the next year it might be something else. So I don't think all at once this year, it's 1.5 million, so I think it's too early to go sticking this into, that's my opinion. I think it's too premature.
That's why my comment is that we should get the 3 bids. let's get out and get 3 bids and find out what they look like.
We are gonna, that's what
But I'm
we
saying,
did, but
we don't have a lot of
we
time to
just
do
got
that
the
before the budget.
CMS thing recently.
I'm saying before the budget, if we can get the bids on it, I don't know how. If you're gonna do 10 buildings a year, I've been in construction my whole life, they're not gonna come in here and you're talking about, well, you're gonna put a down payment down, then you got a lot of time. If they do 10 buildings a year, there's not gonna be a lot of time. You're gonna put a down payment down, they're gonna come down here in 3 or 4 months and get this knocked out. So you're not talking a bunch of money, if that's gonna be.
I'm just saying you don't pay the whole bill up front before the work's done.
No, I'm saying that too.
There's gonna be time before.
I'm just saying that, but there's not gonna be that much time is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment. As far as adopting the proposed budget, I'm certainly in favor of it. We've done a lot of work and we're ready to go on it. The board just received this engineer report this week. There's a tremendous amount of information and data in it that we haven't even had an opportunity to sit, discuss or digest or know what our next steps are. So to prevent the budget from not going forward, this is irrelevant to it. We know that it's not built into it, and we have to look at that report. What are the next steps? Which buildings? All of that. All that work has to be done yet. But the budget needs to be approved now so we can get it out to the owners. We have dates that this budget has to be out, or we continue with last year's budget, and there will be no reducing your HOA until a budget is approved. So I understand all of this. It's a report that just came in. It's massive. It's a lot of money. But there's things to look at, and the board will digest it, break it into parts. We're waiting for Kim and her husband, who are engineers, to help us with that. And we're asking for more information from CSM, who is an engineer company, for more data to help us and come and speak to us how we look at all of this. So that's just my piece of it.
I'm Dave Duke, 19D. I've been a real estate broker for 55 years, and Watson is a big real estate company, so I'm sure they know what I know about this. As far as assessments and adding to your maintenance fee, we did an adding to the maintenance fee this year. My property value dropped probably 25% when you did that. That's common when you do an addition to the maintenance fee. Maintenance fees are looked at by the public as being forever, and so you drop your market. Now, when you do a special assessment, that's a negotiable item at time of sale. So nobody has to know about that until you get to the sale. So it's not a part of the market price. So when you get to negotiating that final sale, you may negotiate whatever you're being leaned for in that special assessment. And therefore that can be paid at that time. Now to do that, if you're going to allow a time payment, you can do that by the association taking out a loan and then having that paid off by the owners as they go. So it's a possibility. I've done that. I was on the board for 10 years down the street over at Sierra, and we did that on a couple of buildings, and the owners paid a chunk at a time, and we took out a loan, and it worked very well. And it also held the property price up. Right now, their 450 square foot apartments are worth exactly the same as mine, 874 or whatever it is. And that's because they handled it properly. All right, that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will have you 3 minutes.
Vicki Mullen, 20E. I think Peggy answered my question, which was, when does the board have to adopt the budget? I mean, there's got to be a date. Right. When is it, Peggy?
Soon. Because we have to get the...
I mean, there's a law that states that you have to adapt your budget for the next season.
Right. Yep. And get it out to the owners before I don't know the exact date, it's December what? We have to have time to produce the coupon books to the owners and do all of it. And if you don't, if you don't meet the deadlines, then, and if we don't adopt the budget today, then that doesn't go forward. You stay with the same budget you had last year.
Which keeps our
Really?
Until the board adopts the new budget. So,
My next question is, can the budget be amended?
budgets can always be amended. We did
Okay,
that.
so we really don't have to jump right in and, no, I think you should adopt your budget.
We amended the budget when we got the large increase in our insurance premiums. Mid-year, the board agreed to that, we amended the budget then. So yes, amending the budget is an option.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vicki.
Jim Hensel, 12J. I think you're really talking about two different things. The budget that we have is basically the operations budget, and that should go on no matter what. The bonds, the buildings, everything else, those are non-recurring. Under the statutes, those are reserves. You can make a special assessment at any time and add money to the reserves. You don't even need a special assessment. You have extra money, say in insurance, an emergency comes up, you transfer it from insurance, escrow, into the proper reserve account. You can pass the budget, there's no problem. However, I was looking at the budget just superficially, and I noticed we did pretty good in 2023. The carryover was zero. We had a $5 million budget, and our expenses exactly matched our income. Amazing. Terrific job. I looked it up on the audit we have, and we actually had a $50,000 profit. Now, $50,000 profit, that's somewhere around $8 a month on our monthly maintenance. The people that were here when I asked last owners meeting if they would add $2 to improve the landscaping, not one person was interested. I wonder how many of them would be interested in reducing another $8. That aside, I kept going. I noticed the $60,000 laid aside from the washing machines. I don't protest the amount. It should have been studied 5 years ago. Inflation and everything that drives up the expenses. But then I got to the reserve portion, and there's $60,000 there. Wait a minute. When you price something like the washing machines, you price them for the expenses, which the original study did, made by the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee at that time decided they did not want to establish a reserve account for it. It could be covered by the building reserves. Why does that make a difference? Because of the income tax. Everything over the actual expenses.
You've got 1 more minute, Jim.
Everything over the exact expenses, you have to pay income tax on. The income tax for corporations is 30%. That's about 1/3. Every $2 you put extra into those machines, you're putting 70 cents into Uncle Sam's pocket. You could have done it through the building reserve.
I have just a quick question, not a question, it's not a question, it's a statement. We checked with the Watson bookkeepers on how to handle the money into reserves, and it's being put into the reserves as a credit against expenses and is not taxable. The income that we keep in operating is taxable, like Jim suggested, but it always has been taxable since they started this back in 2014.
So Jim, it's put in as a credit. It's put in as a credit, and then it's not taxable.
Thank you.
We go off a vote now.
If there's no further discussion, Ron's one.
Are we voting?
My only suggestion is to pass this budget let it go through. If we have to amend it, amend it. Okay? Everybody in here wanted special assessments for anything that was over and above that wasn't budgeted. I think we should leave it like that. I think that's the best way to do it. I agree with, I forgot what his name was that came up here about the real estate. Okay, special assessments can be negotiated when you sell your home, plain and simple. If you want to sell it, you know you got a special assessment, you tell the people I'm going to take care of it. Simple as that. So I think you should pass the budget. I don't think it should be delayed.
Thank you, Randy. If there's no further comments, we'll go to a vote.
Kim has a comment.
Kim, did you have a comment?
Nope, are we ready for a vote?
We are ready for a vote.
Yes.
Okay. Wait a second, let me go back to my notes. Dick,
I'll approve.
was that an approval? I didn't hear it.
Yes.
Chuck,
Yeah, I'll approve it.
Peggy,
Yes.
I will approve it. Keith,
Yes,
Sabrina,
Yes.
Pam.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Now we'll move on to a motion I need a motion to uphold the declaration of condominium of the King Mountain Condo Association to charge 18% monthly interest on unpaid balances beginning January 1st of 2025.
I make a motion to uphold the declaration of the condo of King Mountain Condominium Association to charge 18% monthly interest on unpaid balances beginning January 1, 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you.
Comments?
And do we have any discussion? If there's no discussion, then we will go to a vote.
Okay.
Vote.
Do you approve?
I'm sorry, Kim, who are you starting with?
So you got Peggy made the motion, Sabrina seconded, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to a vote. Dick, do you approve?
I vote to approve.
Chuck,
Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
I approve. Keith,
yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
Perfect. All approved, motion carried.
Thank you. And now we will vote on the CPA firms. Do we want to?
Okay, so we got there were a few CPA firms that we got bids on. One of them was $20,000, way out of the ballpark. We got two of them at $16,000. We interviewed those, Hafer and GRG. And after we had gotten those, we sent out, we interviewed them. We liked both those interviews. Then they were pretty comparable. We then sent out reference letters to find out, we sent a bunch of them out to several companies that use them, several HOAs, COAs, and we got responses from a couple of them. And one of them, they both were really good, but one of them seemed like GRG went up and above, over and above what, like they were discussing how they spent a couple extra hours and all these extra meetings helping out the association above and beyond doing the audits and the taxes. So we decided to go with GRG. After, I think this past week or so, we got another bid from a company and it was $6,000. And this company, after I did a bunch of research on it, I went online, went on Better Business Bureau, and I was reading through the bid. The bid, it kind of didn't ask for as much information. I don't know, it seemed a little iffy. And then when I looked for reviews and I looked online on their website, they didn't have, like, usually you can see all the partners. I didn't see any of the partners. The firm is out of Michigan, and they have like a couple of chapters here, but looking at how the price was and exactly the information that they requested. It looked more like a review, and it didn't look like it was gonna be as thorough. We decided to stick with the GRG because they're local and we feel like we're gonna get better service. I'm thinking that this company is trying to make inroads, that they're not really from here, so they're trying to make inroads and they're gonna start off like this and then they're gonna go back up to what everybody else is. I'm just not confident with that firm, so.
I wasn't either. I said I wasn't either.
Right. So, we selected GRG. Do we have to vote?
Yes, but did you make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept GRG as our CPA firm.
I'll second that.
And now, is there any discussion on this? Sabrina gave us a nice background. If there's no comment, then we will go to a vote.
Dick?
Approve.
Chuck?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
I approve. Sabrina?
I approve.
Yes.
And Pam?
Yes.
Okay, all approved, motion carried.
And the next item on the agenda is the secondary propane regulators. Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to accept the bid from AmeriGas for this project, since they are our primary source of gas. And they maintain our primary tanks, and we have a contractual relationship with them.
I second it.
Is there discussion?
I have a question about this that I never got the answer to, even though I sent it out. So we got the price from AmeriGas to get the, and what they would charge us for all the new pipes, to do the complete job and not just the regulators. But Howie, you never sent me what they would charge us for an hourly fee.
It's on that first bit, I don't know.
Well, the first page, the first document that you sent us had $220 an hour to do this. And I was questioning if it went above what the original quote was for, how much it was going to also increase the cost based on the hourly rate.
From what I understand, Kim, the hourly rate would remain the same, but if they have more work to do, it's gonna be more hours.
Right, but how, they said 37 hours to just replace the regulators. Do we have any idea what the additional hours will be to do the complete job?
No, I don't have any information on the additional hours to do the complete job. And again, the second note on that is they did mention when they sent that, those hours can be reduced with the help of one of our maintenance men, so.
Yeah, we kind of all agreed that was not the right thing to do. So I'm still concerned about how much additional labor costs. Because if it's more than 5 hours, we're going to be at a higher price than Florida Gas Professionals.
That's an unknown number. I don't have the answer for that.
Kim, let me tell you what I know about it. I know that AmeriGas is going to charge you for any extra work whatsoever, including pipes, replacing. These things are 30 years old. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to have to be replaced on. The one bid from Florida Professionals is $20 more per unit, but it replaces anything that has to be replaced with no extra charge. And they are also going to light the hot water heaters instead of having our guys. AmeriGas was going to say if we had our guys do it, they were going to give us a discount. But I really don't want our guys to do it. I'd rather have professionals do it. And that's all going to be included in the price. That way they check out the system and everything. So I'm not for AmeriGas to begin with. One thing I was told at the very beginning, that AmeriGas told us that they had to do it because they belong to them, and that was not true at all. They did not have the right to tell us that, and that's what I was told by a board member, and that was not true.
That's another question I have that I never got an answer to. If we were to go with Florida Gas Professionals, what, and I understand we have to have AmeriGas sign off on somebody else touching their system and having them come back in and double check the system, I think?
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. They do not have, AmeriGas do not have, we're not touching their system. All the regulators on all these buildings belong to us. They don't belong to them.
But Chuck, the contract with AmeriGas states that they have to come in. If somebody touches anything that hooks up to their system, they need to come in and approve that system. Because if people did something wrong, AmeriGas is going to call us null and void.
That's wrong.
Right?
That's not right. No. I talked to Scott, and he has the book. Every gas company gets this little green book, and they go by rules and regulations. He can't go and cut their tanks off. He can't do that. They have to do that. But he says he does not have to cut any tanks off whatsoever. I'm just saying, if you want to compare apples to apples, the professionals are going to be, it's going to come in cheaper for them to do it, and they're going to come in and they bid on doing all of them. But they've already done 2 in here. So let me ask you a question. If they've done 2 in here, did AmeriGas come in and check their system out when we let them do 2? I don't think so. Did they, Holly?
I don't even know that if they were aware that it happened. So.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, in my opinion, I do not have enough information to vote on this.
Well, we don't have 3 bids in anyways, do we?
The third one's still coming. So
We don't have 3 bids anyway, so we got to table it.
We can table this.
I would like to table it because I don't have enough information
No, we got to have 3 bids, so we got to table it anyways.
to vote on this.
Okay, let's wait for the third bid information, and I suggest we table this.
I agree.
So this will be tabled. Next on the new items would be the plantings at Building 48. Do I hear a motion to accept the plantings as are?
There's not a motion to vote on it. It was just a motion of discussion, really.
Okay, then we'll just discuss this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we had a workshop meeting back about, 2 weeks ago. And I was playing golf, and I was walking by, and noticed Building 40 that we put a lot of, well, let me say this first of all. The landscaping in our community is really nice. It really looks good. It's been well maintained. They've done a great job doing it, so it's nothing about the landscaping and the thing. The problem is, I think we're getting a little lax. We have a guy that comes in and plants the plants, and he plants them 12 inches away from the building. First of all, plants aren't supposed to be touching your buildings whatsoever, okay? We went to 3 pest control companies come in here, and they say, do not let plants cut your building, okay? So I try to get them to be just moved out some before they root it. I don't know if they root it or not, I'm not a plant expert. But after a while, you can't move them without damaging them. So I brought it up, and I asked Holly at the time if she had overseen the project, and she said no. So I asked who did, and she said it was a landscape committee. So Peggy told me at the time that she would look into it. Well, 10 days later, I finally get a notice after asking Holly several times if anything's been brought up about it. And the notice I got was they were fine, we're not moving them. I said, okay. So I was actually talking to the landscaper that planted them. And he told me that they weren't too far away from the building. They were close, they were touching, but when they grow out, he's going to trim them all back so that they're away from the building. Well, if they're only 12 inches away from the building and you're going to trim 12 inches back, you're not going to have anything on the other side of the plant. My suggestion was move it out 2 feet so they have room to grow, and then you have room to get in there and do paint and stuff. And that's all I was talking about. It was no big deal about it, but it's just I mean, it's actually landscape 101. You don't plant plants up against your building unless they're vines and you want them to grow up your wall. I mean, it causes termite problems, it causes insect problems, and we were told that. So it was just an easy thing just to move them out another 12 inches or so to cause a problem. But of course, that wasn't done. The person that was in charge of it actually approved it being that way. But there's another thing about it too, is when I asked Holly about it, and Holly is supposed to be on that committee, there was a resolution brought up to the committee that was going to be 3 members on that committee. One was the board liaison, one was a member at large, and one was the property manager. Well, she was never told that she was on that committee when I asked her about if she oversaw the project. She's a property manager here, and that's what her job is, to manage the property. So without her doing that, and people just taking it upon themselves and making it right, doesn't make it right. So that's all I got to say. I think they should be moved, should have been moved. They're too close to the building. When he trimmed them off, they're not going to look good at all. So, he even said that. So he said he's going to have to trim them off the building. So that's all I got to say about that.
Chuck, how many plants are we talking about?
How many plants
are we talking about? They have to be moved.
We're only talking, well, I think there's probably 15 of them that had to be moved. I mean, it was no big deal. It's just move them out, get them away from the building so they have a chance to grow.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And I mean, they say do not plant them against the buildings. So, I mean, it was just an easy thing to move at the time. I mean, now it might be a little harder because it might be rooted up some. But I just don't think, I think we should follow like what our pest control people say about stuff. I mean, we're having termite problems, we have ant problems all the time, and they say don't let the plants touch the buildings. So that's my point of it. It should have been taken care of, but it wasn't.
I'll just say a quick question on all that. I don't really want to come up to the microphone. I can talk loud. Well, you have to call in Dig Safe for Florida, so they can tell you where that hot wire goes down the side of that building to be able to move the plants.
Yeah, there's no.
That would be my question. You know where it exactly is.
Well, that's why it's been brought to the people that they're not allowed to plant plants in here because of the hot wire, because of the cables. That's why we have our landscaper do it, because he's supposed to have a schematic where all the hot wire cables are and all the electric, everything, power stuff. But that far away, I don't think they ran any hot wire down that side of that building.
Making and knowing is 2 different things.
But I know that, but you're talking 2 foot out. I guarantee you they didn't put it 2 foot within the building. The only way they got close to the building is coming to the building, not along down the side of it. So, but that can be looked at on a schematic. That's no big deal.
Holly, do you have anything to comment on this?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
When I looked at the plants, here's what's my concern. They are close to the building, but if you moved them out a little bit further, they're going to be under that drip line. You have no gutters on these buildings. You can see the marks along the buildings where the water comes down. You have a heavy rain. It's not going to be helpful for these plants at all. Then if you go any further out, we're going to have to remove sod in order to plant them further out. Those were my concerns when I looked at it.
And then they would be very far away from the building.
Yeah, they would be far.
And we would incur an additional expense having to move the sod and plants.
It's really not much sod there, it's mainly dirt. But the drip line, if you go around every building you see here, all the plants are being hit by the drip line. The plants behind my building are being hit by the drip line. But the plants are doing fine. I mean, the drip line just actually puts more water on them. You know, I mean, it's not beating them up. I mean, you can look around probably 50 buildings and see the drip line is right coming on the plants. So, I mean, that's not really a problem.
Again, I'm not a landscaper. That was just what I saw when I looked at it.
Right.
And being small plants, and I know we get really, really hard downpours sometimes, but again, I'm not a landscaper. That was just my concern.
Well, they could be actually moved out past the drip line anyway, so it wouldn't cause a problem. So. It's just it's my look on it. It's just, I mean, like I said, everything looks really good in here. I think we just need to have a little bit of control over who's putting the plants in. And if they're not being supervised, they just need to be supervised, that's all. That's all I gotta say on that matter, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the comments. Personally, I think that it should just stay the way it is, only because an expert put it in, and I believe it was his opinion that it was okay. That's my own opinion, and that's that. This wasn't taken for a vote, it was just for a comment, so our comments have been made, and let's move forward. We need to do the approval of the proposed resolutions. The first resolution is the official records request.
I make a motion to accept the official records request.
I'll second it.
Any comments, questions?
These resolutions were discussed at the workshop. They are board resolutions that were developed. The official records request it's extensive. It was read at their board meeting. Any owner can request any of the official records of the association. There's a process involved in it, and there's a cost in that, depending on what it is. If you can't find what you're looking for, the official records on our website in the Vanica, they can be reproduced, but there's a cost involved in it. And effective July 1st, we also have to have a checklist that has to be signed, dated, timed, that all the documents that you're requesting are listed, if we weren't able to produce them for you. It's a very extensive process that we have to go through now. So we developed the policy for it, and that's what was discussed, and that's what we're approving now. Right, does anybody have any questions on that? All of these proposed resolutions were discussed at the workshop.
So if we have no discussion, let's go for a vote on the official records request.
Okay, yeah.
I approve.
Chuck,
Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
I approve. Keith,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes,
all in favor, motion carried.
thank you. Next on the proposed resolutions is the salary review committee.
And make a motion to accept the salary review committee resolution.
I second it.
And is there any comments or questions? Then let's go to a vote, please.
Okay. Dick, do you approve?
I do approve.
Chuck,
Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
I approve. Keith,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes,
all approved, motion carried.
thank you. Reserve, now next will be the Reserve Investment Committee.
I make a motion to adopt or approve the Reserve Investment Committee resolution.
I second it.
The only change in this committee is originally when we wrote it, it was we're meeting monthly, and we found that there was not sufficient changes in the investment market in a 30-day window, so we moved to have the committee meet bi-monthly. The rest of it remains the same. That was approved back in, I think, March or February.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, let's go to a vote.
Okay. Dick,
Approve.
Chuck,
Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
I approve. Keith,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
and Pam.
Yes. And the last,
Carried. All approved, motion carried.
thanks, Kim. Last one is of the proposed budget is legal opinion.
I make a motion to approve the legal opinion resolution.
I will second that. Any discussion, comment? Then let's go to a vote, please.
Dick,
Approve.
Chuck,
Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
I approve. Keith,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
and Pam.
Yes.
All approved, motion carried.
I'd just like to make a comment on these. Some people don't understand what these are, but these are the policies that the board works by. And we have many of them over the years that are created. And through every year, depending on the laws that are changed, we may have to review these and update them. So some of them are just being updated this year. Some of them are brand new ones because of new state statutes that are put in place. But this is just the document that there's a word for it, Kim knows, that immortalizes the board's decisions on how they will operate. So there's many of these, and that's another thing. If you're looking at running for the board, you have lots of policies and documents for to work under. So that's what these are. We've updated them, there's some new ones, and now we have to approve them.
I do have a question about them.
Sure.
And I don't know who can answer this for me. I did notice as I was going through old ones, sometimes they're signed by just the secretary and sometimes they're signed by the secretary and the president. They all have a date on them, the date that they were approved. Does anyone know what the legal binding is? Does the president and the secretary sign them or just the secretary?
I don't know the answer to that right now, Kim. We'll have to find out.
Okay. Also, I just noticed it like yesterday, so.
Okay.
So, Holly, until I get an answer on that, I will get these to you in the next day or so.
The next item on the agenda is the unanimous consent forms that were approved. The board has already approved the contract for the Flooring USA for Unit 40E, the contract for CSM to inspect the catwalks and the railings, and the new treadmill and maintenance agreement for the gym. Thank you. Those were unanimous consent forms that have been assigned and approved, so that just needs to go into the minutes. And that's it. Are there any owner comments? Yes, Judy.
Good morning, Judy Roberts, 17G. Thanks again for all the hard work that's gone into the budget. I'm happy, as I think most are, that everything passed. I just have a couple of things. One is just a statement. The email consent form that was communicated out probably a month and a half ago maybe, I had called up here to double check whether we were all set or did I need to fill a form out. They said I was all set. When we arrived here, I double checked again with Danny. She said, no, you're all good. And then I was surprised to receive the budget in the mail. So I know communications went out and said, if you get the budget in the mail, it means that you need to come in and sign the form. I thought I had signed the form. I was told twice I did. Danny checked again in the computer this morning. In the computer it said I did, but then in her paper copies, she couldn't find a copy of it. So it's just a heads up that if you got the budget in the mail, go back and see Danny. You probably shouldn't have to fill a new form out. So it's just an FYI on that piece. The other piece was for the changes in the HOA fees come January 1. I know it was new to all of us to have to go into the system to do the authorization for the EFT. The question is, now if we specified a dollar amount, because there was a couple options when we set that up, you can go in and you can basically authorize them to deduct whatever it is that monthly fee happens to be, or you can go in and put a specific dollar amount, which is what I did. I went in and put, ours was $811, so I put in there that I authorized $811 per month. So I just want to give a heads up to everybody, depending on how you originally set it up, be sure you go back into the system and tell it to change it from $811 to, or whatever your were, to whatever the new amount is, if that's how you happen to set yours up. So I just kind of want to give that as a heads up, and I want to double check that that's what we should be doing. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Judy. Appreciate it. Yes, Bob.
Ron Longo, 51J. I just wanted to thank Keith for all the hard work he put into putting the budget together, and explaining everything and going through everything that he does, because I know he does a lot of hard work. And the same thing with Peggy. I know she does a lot of research and goes through all the different things and explains everything very well to the people out there. And I want the whole board I want to thank for doing what they do. This job up here is a hard job, believe me. It's not easy. I mean, until you get in there, you don't know what all the inner workings are. Everybody,
That's for sure.
even though everybody thinks they do, right? But thank you very much to the whole board.
Bob Stover, 40E. I just wanted to let everybody know that if you have any old or damaged American flags, you can get them to me and I will make sure that they are properly disposed of.
Thanks, Bob. Are there any other comments, concerns?
I have one other quick thing.
Oh, yes.
This is very important for the men's bocce. We're starting men's bocce January 15th on a Wednesday and 17th for the Friday. We have sign-up sheets down there. It hasn't been posted on 99. It's too early. We need players, so if you are interested in playing, you give me a call. My phone number's on there, or Wally Tidgen's phone number's on there. But the sign-up sheet's down there. We play from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 1 o'clock. There's five games usually every day. But if you're interested, just give me a call, or Wally, and we'll be glad to get you guys signed up. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Any more comments, questions, concerns? Can I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
Okay. Officially just adjourned.